Hi, it's the M.L.M for the Soul channel, and I do have a new topic for today. Before I begin, I just want to say, may the words and expressions of my mouth and the thoughts and meditations of my heart find favor and acceptance before you, Hashem, and some people to thank who've inspired me. I hope they can inspire you as well. And I'll have links below this video to their sites. They are Rabbi Shalom Arush, Rabbi Lazer Brody, Rabbi Yosef Mizrahi, Rabbi Eli Mansour, Rabbi Alon Anava, Rabbi Yuval Ovadia, Rav Daniel Asor, Nissim Baruch Black, David Sachs, and Rabbi Michael Skobac, Jews for Judaism. And again, if you've never checked out this site before, I have a lot of videos, Baruch Hashem. And the first video explains what M.L.M for the Soul stands for. It stands for something and what it is I'm doing. And I'll have a link right below this video so you can check that out so you don't have to search through all the other videos. So today we're continuing again. This is part 9 of 10 parts from the book The Power of Teshuvah by Rabbi Heshy Kleinman. I call the topic Time for Teshuvah, which is always time for Teshuvah. It doesn't only have to do with the 40 days from Rosh Chodesh Elul to Yom Kippur, which is what this book is about, to follow a daily guide. But I just wanted to do this anyway. So part 9, we're into the techniques or the strategies here. Let's see, it's called Techniques to an Enduring Teshuvah, and I finished last part up to number 3. So today I'm going to do 3 through 6, and Bezat Hashem, the final part will be 7 through 10. So technique 3 is called Ein Breira, and if you know what Ein Breira means, it means you have no choice. So when you don't have a choice, we do what we must. So like a woman who doesn't like to get out of bed early, but she has a young child, or no one wants to really donate a portion of their income to the government, but we all do or else. So if we can succeed in creating an ironclad rule for ourselves that preclude sliding back into a sin, we will have given ourselves an enormously powerful tool in unlearning bad habits and learning better ones. Such a tool gives us time to solidify our new way, preventing the backsliding that often undermines our confidence and momentum. So the foundation of our entire service to Hashem is our willingness to accept the yoke of heaven. That is why the recitation of Shema, in which we commit ourselves to the yoke of heaven, precedes that of V'haya im shamoa. So Shema is Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, and in which we commit ourselves to obey the commandments. So first we commit ourselves to Hashem, and then to the commandments. A Kabbalah is the acceptance of a yoke, similar to the wooden beam placed on a pair of oxen to enable them to pull a load. Once the oxen is under the yoke, it must do its master's will. It's unable to turn around and go in another direction. So without that yoke, it could just aimlessly run around. So this is preventing it. This is putting it where it has to do it. In making Kabbalah, we too need something to ensure that we stay on track, because all beginnings are difficult and prone to setbacks. We should first make a Kabbalah. Our own personal Kabbalahs can be fortified tremendously with this approach called Ein Breira. There's no choice. So you tell yourself that. If we tell ourselves Ein Breira, I will do this no matter what, we can acquire the heavenly help to remove all the obstacles that lie in the path to an enduring teshuvah. This approach and the success it breeds gives us the fresh beginning we need to solidify our teshuvah. The most effective way to use the Ein Breira approach is, as mentioned earlier, to apply it to a small improvement. So start slowly. Don't try to do everything all at once. No matter what, I will take a 5-minute break to call my parents every day. That's an example. Then when the Yetzer Hara begins nagging us about the chores piling up around us or the paperwork on our desk, we are armed with the reply, I know, but I have to do this first. Giving ourselves no choice neutralizes much of the internal back and forth that weakens our resolve. So you have the seesaw, or like the pendulum going, okay, yes, no, yes, no. You have to resolve, I'm going to do this, and then keep doing that will keep you on track. Once we see that we're able to enforce our decisions upon ourselves in smaller matters, we gain the strength to tackle larger matters. With a Kabbalah of necessity, the evil inclination cannot rule. Ein Breira works. So you tell yourself, I need to do this, so he can't get past that. So the next technique is technique 4, called Easy Does It. So teshuvah can be challenging. Setting out on a new road can be daunting. Most of us often face several areas where there is a need for improvement. For example, a man is likely to feel that he should put more time and effort into learning Torah. He may realize that in general. He does not utilize his time properly. He may be careless when making a bracha. He may detect flaws in his relationship with his wife and children. He may wish he were more helpful to his shul and community. With such a giant task laid out before us, how can we ever begin? At times we feel overwhelmed and full of self-doubt. Therefore, it's advisable to take the, quote, scenic route. That is, to find the area of improvement that is most pleasing to our hearts and start with that. So, like underneath the notes, as Rav Dessler says, that a person trying to change a habit and succeed in tshuva should set his sights on something taxing but not overwhelming by setting a minimum and a maximum goal. The minimum goal is within reach. The maximum goal is the vision towards which he strives. So you find the minimum of that, whatever you're trying to work on, and then work towards the bigger, because that's the end goal, but do slowly so that you don't feel overwhelmed. King Solomon advises, follow the path of your heart. This is from Koheles. The first thrust when doing tshuva should be to improve in the areas toward which a person feels a natural pull. Thus, if his natural bent is to the area of Torah study, tshuva should begin in Torah study. If it is in human relations, then he should begin tshuva in that area. So where do you feel the need? Where is it pulling you? What direction? The danger in beginning our tshuva process with something that we find difficult is that we might encounter frustration that will end up halting the process in its tracks. On the other hand, if we succeed at the first level of self-improvement, our desire to do tshuva expands, change is possible. So if the first thing we do, we're all saying, I got results, that you feel like this wonderful feeling, then you're going to want to continue. Even a minor success can catapult us forward on our quest to reach our full potential. Once a person's tshuva succeeds in matters that are near and dear to him, he is poised to address the next area that needs attention. By analyzing the successes and duplicating the steps he took to succeed, and by not dwelling on the setbacks, he paves the way for future success. So points to ponder. Tshuva can seem like a daunting, overwhelming task. So don't let it overwhelm you. Take it slow. Don't look at it out here. Look at it close by, little. A powerful technique for enforcing our own Kabbalah is to tell ourselves, Ein Breira, there's no choice. By that means, we close down all the Yetzer Hara's argument against our Kabbalah, telling ourselves that we really have no choice but to keep it. Success is in the easy matters. It strengthens us to tackle difficult ones. Ein Breira is most effective when it is first applied to small Kabbalahs. Then we can build on that success to take on larger changes. So next technique is technique 5, called read the manual. Okay. So generally, the more complex the mechanism, the greater is the need to read the instructions. So if you have just something really simple, like let's say a little timer or something, it's pretty easy to figure out. But if you have something like a massive computer or something that involves, then you're going to need to spend more time learning how to use it, not just try to figure it out on your own. In the absence of mitzvos, the halachos, the laws, are the instruction manual that teaches us how to ensure that we press all the right buttons to bring about the spiritual benefits each mitzvah engenders. Proper speech, Shabbos observance, business dealings, and prayers are just a few of the areas of a Jew's everyday life that are governed by halacha. It is impossible to correct the mistakes and sins we commit in these areas unless we know the applicable laws of tshuva, so you have to know what you're doing. For instance, one may study Mussar regarding Lashon Hara and become very inspired to improve, but inspiration alone is not enough to prevent him from stumbling. There is no solution other than studying halacha, just as one learns the laws regarding stealing, kashrus, etc., says the Chafetz Chaim. So you have to learn the laws, how to do it. That will help you improve. Learning should be consistent and methodical, the Chafetz Chaim advises. There must be a set time each day, whether a lot or a little, to learn the laws and the Mussar relevant to speech. Meaning Lashon Hara we're talking about. For many other mitzvahs as well, it is virtually impossible to observe the mitzvah without studying its laws. Therefore, we stand to lose the great merit we could acquire by doing the mitzvah properly. So if you just do mitzvah haphazard, like, okay, I'm just going to make this bracha, blah, 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 you don't even know what the word means or what you're doing, then it's like, it's great that you're doing it. I'm sure you get credit for it, but if you do it right, it's even better. The Chafetz Chaim highlights the great reward for proper Shabbos observance. Whoever keeps Shabbos in accordance with his laws will have his sins forgiven. This can only be achieved, however, with a thorough knowledge of the laws of Shabbos. So if you don't know the laws, you can't keep it properly. For a person who struggles with dishonesty, learning the laws imparts a sense of the seriousness of these types of sins and the gravity of the punishment associated with them. Through this knowledge, a person who engages in trickery, lying, stealing, or similar sins can find motivation to change. When the Torah tells us that Teshuvah is in your mouth and in your heart, and that's from Devarim, it is emphasizing that we should study the laws of Teshuvah. In this way, we infuse the mitzvah of Teshuvah with flavor. We are then able to do it enthusiastically and properly and reap the rich rewards Teshuvah always brings. So, points to ponder. Teshuvah, like every other mitzvah, can only be done properly by learning the related halachos. Learning the laws of Shabbos can bring forgiveness for all sins. Our prayers are not heard when we abuse and neglect our power of prayer. When one person cannot perform a mitzvah, his learning its halachas counts as if he actually performed it. So, for example, there actually are some mitzvahs that we don't actually do of the 613 because we don't have Beis Hamikdash. Some people don't live in Eretz Yisrael. So, but if you learn the halacha, that's why it's good to learn the halacha every day, because you're actually considered a ben olam haba, that you will merit olam haba. So there are places actually online. There's someone actually called Ben Olam Haba, if you look him up, that does halachas every day. He sends 2 every day. It says you need to do 2. So, there's some that's talking about, like, I'm just doing ones that are talking about tzitzis and stuff like that, but I don't do that. But I'm learning it because I'm learning some of those things. It counts as if I'm doing it. So the final technique for today was technique 6. Set safeguards. Okay, let me just see here. So, the story here is about someone who's susceptible to bronchitis. Whenever he catches a cold, he's bedridden, and he learns that he needs to do things to help him. So, in the same way, a person who is susceptible to a certain sin or temptation has to enact safeguards that a less susceptible person may not require. So, one who's more susceptible to something may have to do something to protect themselves more than other people who are not. He has already determined that he has a certain area of weakness. Upon recovering from that spiritual malady through Teshuvah, he has to protect himself from its recurrence. So people like that, if they don't protect themselves, they're bound to slip and go back into what they were doing that they didn't want to do anymore. Each of us can benefit from erecting personal boundaries specific to our needs. For example, to stop speaking Lashon Hara, we are told to limit saying even complimentary things about other people who are not in our presence unless absolutely necessary, like for a shidduch, or work situations too. This creates an effective safeguard against speaking ill about someone. The verse states, and this is from Vayikra 18:30, "You shall safeguard my charge that these abominable traditions that were done before you not be done, and not make yourselves impure through them. I am Hashem." The Talmud derives the concept of erecting a fence around the Torah from this exhortation to safeguard the commandments. For example, Shabbos observance is, in many instances, defined by the rabbinic enactments that safeguard the basic prohibitions of labor. Safeguards most often entail distancing ourselves from the people, places, or situations that lead us to sin. So that's important to remember, that certain people might cause us to act that way, and if we're not strong enough too, then that's not good. So we want to distance ourselves from those people. Safeguards most often entail, for example, Rabbeinu Yonah cites in Hilchos Teshuvah 24 conditions that will obstruct a person's efforts at Teshuvah. The 5th condition is associating with wrongdoers. If we do not separate ourselves from those who relish their lives of overindulgence and sin, our perspectives become skewed. We hear so much about their activities that we become desensitized to the sinfulness and repercussions of this type of life. We fall prey to the notion that the only way to fit in socially with such friends is to do as they do. So because you're kind of around them and seeing what they're doing, you basically think that that's how you have to live. For failings that require long-term teshuvah, such as changing of bad characteristics, safeguards are particularly useful. In general, bad character and bad habits have triggers. For example, the trigger might be a certain person who provokes an angry, aggressive response. It might be a specific tension-producing activity, such as driving in heavy traffic. So this can cause you to trigger things like that. When the triggers of bad habits occur, it is extremely difficult to stop the negative response in its tracks. One solution is to set safeguards. As much as possible, avoid the environment that trips the trigger. Avoid traffic by taking a less traveled road. Limit your interactions with the person who irritates you, or if that is not feasible, prepare a more acceptable response to them. So don't let that cause you to trigger you, or try to do something different. Like I said, take a different road. If you know that you're apt to get angry and upset and all that, because you take these roads on busy times, if you can avoid them, do something else. By setting up safeguards, we reduce the number of times our teshuvah is tested, because that's testing it. That's what it is. We give ourselves time to build up good habits in situations that are easier for us to handle, making it more likely that we will succeed when the triggers are set off again. If we find that a character problem is correctable by changing the environment that evokes, we often find that a character problem is correctable by changing the environment that evokes the problematic trait. Even small adjustments can lead to dramatic changes in behavior. Safeguards enable us to maintain our tshuva without having to wrestle our yetzer hara to the ground each and every time. So that's like when you're being tested, because you've overcome something, and then the next time that thing comes around, you should try not to. So points to ponder: when a person knows his weakness, he can safeguard himself against it. Safeguards often entail separating ourselves from that which provokes our transgression. Safeguards help a person train himself away from bad character traits. So that is the end for today. So in closing, I just want to say that I hope we can all work on ourselves and use some of these techniques in our daily life to improve ourselves, to do more tshuva, so that when we're tested, we can overcome those things that are preventing us from doing what's right. And I hope that in the merit of us all coming together in Achdus, in everything that we do, that we will merit to live and see the coming of Mashiach speedily in our days, and the rebuilding of our final and everlasting Beis HaMikdash. Amen, and thanks for watching.